Hello. How is everyone? I'm Al. So, you saw the topic today, huh? Pretty provocative topic. Should Catholics attend SSPX chapels? Now, for those who don't know, the SSPX is a traditionalist organization founded in 1970. The bishops were excommunicated in 1988. The people who attend them are technically not excommunicated, but they're bishops. They have lifted the excommunication in 2009. The point is they're not in full communion with the church, and they operate parallel churches, chapels, and they're exclusively Latin Mass and Anti-Vatican II, and some people attend them. So that's what they are. Is that a good enough explanation? So now, now the people who attend the SSPX and the SSPX themselves are against bad liturgy, against modernism, and I sympathize with that 100%. 100%. I hate modernism too. And I'm sure if I sat down with these people, some SSPX goers, we'd agree that Pope Francis is the worst pope in the history of the church, hands down. He's bad, guys. He's bad. But about his motu proprio, I think he honestly anticipated about half the Latin masses to evaporate inside of a week, like half of global Latin masses. Instead, only a church here, a church there. So he has failed in that, but he's shown us his hand. And like I said in my last video, this will backfire. Now, I'm engaged in something called apologetics, trying to defend the Christian faith. In the case of I deal with Protestants and also with Muslims. And a guy that I like to quote to both groups, Protestants and Muslims, is Saint Ignatius of Antioch. Now, and a lot of Catholics like Saint Ignatius of Antioch because he teaches the real presence in the Eucharist, and he teaches monarchical bishops. He's also the first one to use the word Catholic Church. And he's adamant. Now, the society, St. Pius X, they're not under the local bishop. Now, if you take a look at St. Ignatius, this early Christian father, writing around 108, he says in chapter 4 of his epistle to I believe it's the Ephesians. Let me just check. Yep, Ephesians chapter 4. Wherefore it is fitting that you should run together in accordance with all the will of your bishop, which thing also you do, for you justly renowned presbytery worthy of God is fitted as exactly to the bishop as the strings are to the harp. Long story short, you need to obey the bishop for all things ecclesial. Like your bishop can't tell you what hockey team to cheer for or something like that. Let me show you another quote from Ignatius. This is Epistle to the Smyrnians. I think it's Smyrnian. Chapter 8. See that you follow the bishop even as Jesus Christ does the Father, and the presbytery as you would the apostles, and reverence the deacons as being the institution of God. Let no man do anything connected with the church without the bishop. Let no man do anything connected with the church without the bishop. So if you're going to do something with the church, you need to do it with the bishop. Let that be deemed a proper Eucharist, which is administered either by the bishop or by one who he has entrusted it. Whenever the bishop shall appear, there shall let the blah, 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 blah. You get the idea. Let's go back to that last sentence. Let that be deemed a proper Eucharist, which is either by the bishop or by one to whom he has entrusted it. So basically, if you got the bishop's approval to say Mass in your diocese, Mass is a Eucharist. So the local SSPX does not operate with the bishop's consent. Now, I know some people in the SSPX will like to say, well, that's true. And I'm quoting Ignatius because he's not a modernist. He's not one of these modern lefties that said, you're disobedient, blah, blah, blah. No, if we're going to be traditional Catholics, this tradition from St. Ignatius is as old as you can get. Can't get much older than that on this side of the new covenant. Now, I know some people say that, okay, that is true, but we're in an emergency situation because of the papal bull of Pius V in the 1500s, quo primum, which promulgated this Mass to everyone, and we have a right to this Mass. All right, let's follow that conclusion along for a bit. First of all, in my diocese, you have Latin Mass. There's SSPX, but there's Latin Mass available as well. So if you're going to play that card, there's no reason why the SSPX should set up shop in a diocese where they have access to a Latin Mass already. That's true for my hometown as well. So it's wrong to set up. If a diocese has no Latin Mass, I can at least see where that argument comes. But if your diocese has a Latin Mass, you can't play that card. Now, say there's no Latin Mass. That's when they need to come in, right? Keep in mind, we're still commanded to obey our bishop. And why don't you apply to the bishop to ask the fraternity into your diocese? Or ask the Institute of Christ the King or another order into your diocese? Because the bishop can do that. The bishop can do that. And then they're inside the church, obeying the bishop. And if you want, there's always Eastern Rite to hang out in. I know that's a bit easier said than done. Like, I'm half Ukrainian, so I grew up there, or partially in there. And therefore, but still, it's an option. But remember, that does not give you an excuse to operate outside of the bishop. Okay. And there's going to be time for questions at the end, so feel free to say them at the end. What we need is to build the TLN movement inside the church. I think this play by Francis was meant to scare people to go SSPX, because it's like, we need them out of the church. If they're out of the church, they're not a problem. Like, wouldn't it have been better if we had some of the SSPX bishops inside the church at the Amazon Synod and stuff like that? So if they join with the church, we essentially increase the trad movement by 2 or 3 times overnight. That would be great. And they're influential now. And so my appeal is just come back in. Just come back into the church and we'll fight this battle together. I think victory is within sight. Like, not tomorrow we're going to have victory, but we can have victory within probably 1 or 2 decades. But we need all of us. We can't have people operating outside the church. We need to be together, band together, and attack the modernists and win and rout them. And it's the trad thing to do. If you're going to be traditional, can you get more traditional than Saint Ignatius? Now, notice I'm not being all crazy about this. I'm not being like Michael Voris or Patrick Coffin or people like that who are just fanatically anti-SXPX. No, I have some close friends who attend SXPX, and I want to be honest. I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way. If I've been disrespectful, that's not my goal. I'm just trying to be, I'm trying to like appeal to the thing. And yeah, I'm not being like Michael Voris. That guy's a joke. And so my appeal is to come into the church and crush the modernists, because we can do it. If we increase our army that big overnight, it's going to overwhelm. And then Francis gets his wish, unity. You know, he's like, I want unity, even though his document, Traditione Custodes, has done anything but. So my plea is basically come into the church and let's fight this. You know, the quicker we're all in fighting this, the quicker we can defeat the modernists. I mean, those priests in the society form very well. It'd be nice to have them on the inside doing the Latin Mass, because he'd love to heal the schism. And believe me, we're only 12 or 13 minutes in, but I'm done. Basically, that's all I'm going to say. So that the answer is to stay inside the church under your local bishop. You probably have access to a Latin Mass. If you don't, I feel bad for you. Try to petition for one, or try to maybe hang out in Eastern Rite for a while. So that's my spiel. So come on in. That's what I say. So you should not attend the SSPX chapel. You should come on into the church, fight this, and crush, and we will crush them. So that's my appeal. I'm done. So questions. Alan, what about if a bishop says nothing on the matter of the SXPX? They say nothing publicly or of disapproval or approval, but they have a good relationship with the bishop. If the bishop allows them, has specifically granted them faculties to operate under his jurisdiction, I don't see a problem with it. There may be the odd situation where that's the case, but it's certainly not the norm. I think in Argentina they're like that. I could be wrong, or I think the odd place are like that, but normally they're not, unfortunately. All right, any more questions? All right, but barely Protestant, my good buddy Father James. There is an historic Latin version of the Book of Common Prayer meant for seminaries and universities. If anyone wants an Anglican, non-papist Latin Mass, hit me up. I'm curious, Father James, do you say Mass in Latin? Because that would be pretty awesome. Well, you have to ask, is the local is your local chapel given permission by the bishop? we don't need to concern ourselves with what Pope Francis is doing. Yeah, because he's dialoguing with them. Francis and the SXPX are dialoguing. There's some dialogue going on because they need to get back in. Canonically irregular, yep. Which I don't know what that means. No, you don't say the Latin Mass. Well, then stop false advertising, Father James. We do it in the vernacular. I wouldn't be opposed to doing one in Latin. Nice. I'm liking that. Andrew Gilchrist, does the fact that SXPX has their own bishops pose any problems? Also, what are you drinking? I'm drinking coconut water with aloe vera, and it's good. Thirsty Buddha, that's the brand. They've got their own bishops, but those bishops don't have any jurisdiction. I think when Lefebvre ordained them in his homily, he's like, I give them bishops, but they don't have any jurisdiction, because he can't give them jurisdiction. Jurisdiction only comes from Rome. So they're there in the society essentially to provide ordinations and confirmations. What's an Anglican ordinariate? Go ask Father James. Oh, by the way, that's another option. I know Father James is not going to be too keen about this, but if you can find a good ordinariate mass, I'd try it out. Of course, I would put that. Of course, try to get Latin Mass followed by Eastern Rite, followed by an ordinariate mass. There's a question I got, Father James. What's the difference between an ordinariate mass and a standard Anglican mass? Because I've been to an ordinary mass. Like, do they just change a few prayers around, or is it completely changed? Or I don't know. I'm just curious. I know you're not a fan of the ordinariate, but it's that's what it is. I can offer it if people want. Anglican converts. Well, why does Ecclesia Dei have such assist? In one comment, Bert says they're in schism. In another instance, they are Catholic, and you can attend their masses. Yeah, well, I don't think Ecclesia Dei. I think that's been kind of done away with, right? Like they're, but still, like all that aside, they need approval with the local bishop. Remember St. Ignatius, don't do anything in terms of church-related stuff without the local bishop's permission. Only get the Eucharist from the bishop or someone that he permits to serve. And they haven't done the local. There's a big debate if it's schism or canonically irregular. That's a debate we can have. What we need to know is that they don't have the approval of the local bishop 99% of the time. So, well, England's in the papacy said, was it like, I know what it is. I don't know what that means. Papists LARPing as Anglicans. That's the ordinary mass. Again, thanks, buddy. Thanks. What? I will not be mean. New job. Okay, that's in my personal life. So yeah, I got a new job. So I won't give any details because I try not to talk about my personal life unless it's faith related. So Anglican on roll. I've not been to an ordinary mass, but my understanding is that it's a Romanized prayer book mass. I'd have to ask some ordinariate friends. You have ordinariate friends, Father James? Okay, that's a big shot. But no, I'm just curious to know, because I've not ever been to an Anglican mass. I guess they call it a mass, right? So yeah, no, I'd kind of be interested because I think the last Catholic monarch, which had the country Catholic, was Queen Mary, and the Tridentine Mass was not promulgated until 1570, and Queen Mary died in 1558. So they didn't have the Tridentine Mass as part of their Catholic tradition in England. They had kind of a local thing that probably had some similarities. I know in Anglican churches they have the rood screen and stuff like that. So like that's not part of England's history, because England left the Catholic Church prior to 1570. As Queen Mary died, that went with the Catholic Church there, and so they don't have the Mass of Pius V. All right, let's keep going. All right, why do you think traditions are being targeted and not the heinous liberals? Well, because Francis is a heinous liberal. That's why. If you want to know, that's the truth. Francis is a liberal. That's why we need all the trads in the church so we can fight this guy. Oh, someone mentioned in the chat, unfortunately, I do have ordinarian friends. Well, I guess there's that old cliche, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Adios, my dudes. All right, Kyle, see ya. Not going to lie, I've been having more Roman Catholics than usual contact me after Francis's declaration wanting to become Anglican. Wow. Yeah, no, that's a problem. No, that's been a problem. Although, ironically, Father James, you live in the States. Very few Latin masses have actually been shut down. I think 8 Latin masses in the entire country. I recommend Anglicans in the Catholic Church. I think that's the title. Great work from those who submitted to Rome. Alan Rowe. Barely Protestant. That's very... a trad going Anglican crazy. An ordinary Mass is actually a Tridentine Mass in English with some prayer added and some omitted. That's the assessment I've gone from. No, because I've attended an ordinary Mass. It's pretty different than the Latin Mass. It's still very beautiful. It's a very nice done Mass. It's ad orientem. It's got a rood screen, or at least in the church I was in. It's got a rood screen. It's got some prayers. I'd imagine that they took the Anglican Mass, and if there was anything offensive to the Catholic Church, they'd have taken it out. And yeah, like I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on this. I don't attend there on a regular basis, actually, because I have a Latin Mass to go to, fortunately. So. And it uses King James English. Well, if King James English was good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for me. So, okay, yeah, that's what I assume. Because like Mass tradition has always the same kind of format. It starts with some prayers and then some readings, the homily. And then you got the Credo, the Our Father, the whole Eucharist. Seems like Book of Common Prayer, either the Prayer Book Mass or at least the Sarum Rite. The English, St. Paul and Jesus used. Amen. KJP supremacy. So that's essentially all I have to say. I'll tell you what, you guys got me for 6 more minutes. I'm going to kill the stream at 30 minutes. Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question, Mr. Sir Dude. What's your take on the interview with E. Michael Jones about Traditionis Custodes? He kind of some trads, including the SSPX, for blaming the Novus Ordo on Vatican II on the current state of the church. I mean, I'm not going to lie. That interview was all over the place. Like at one point he's comparing the Latin Mass people to people who want like a homo Mass, but then he's praising them because they're reading his stuff. Like he was all over the place in that interview. Usually he's more coherent than that. I was shocked. He said some alarming things, but then he like contradicted them a second later. It's weird. So, I mean, go watch that interview for yourself. It's on Peter Helland's channel, HELLAND, and it's the most recent video. What the? Christ gave the King James Bible to St. Paul. I was actually impressed with Taylor Marshall's response to the news. Yeah, no, he said that, but then he said he praises them because they're reading his stuff. They're reading the Jewish Revolutionary Spirit, his book on the Jews. So, like, in one, and like, it's tough. He's not always clear. Is he talking about the Society of St. Pius X Latin Mass community or the one inside the diocese? So it's kind of, so I got a question, Father James. Are you talking about the one where he goes through all the points and like breaks it down and stuff? I think that's the one you're talking about, and that's the one. Yeah. So. Yeah. So. No. I've got a question, Father James. You said some people were contacting you wanting to become Anglican after that. The Traditiana Custodes. I'm curious. I assume those are Latin Mass goers. If they don't go to the real Mass, they are participating in apostasy at root. Jesus will honor his confused Vatican II faithful up to a point, but it is riddled with the... Yeah, okay. I'm not even going to answer that. The initial live stream I saw where he gave you guys advice on how to react to it. Okay, I think we're thinking about the same episode. Yeah, that's definitely a good episode. You know, I think that's one where he says, if your bishop keeps a Latin Mass, write a letter to your bishop thanking them. By the way, I just found out my priest is getting moved to the States. Like, we're still getting the Latin Mass. I'm getting a new priest, but our priest is being moved to the States. I'm not sure. They are Latin Mass goers, not SSPX, though. Oh, interesting. So that's like me then. I'm Latin Mass, non-SSPX. I guess some of my... That's odd, though, and I'll tell you why, Father James. Because I'm not going to say where you live publicly, but I do know where you live. And that bishop there, technically an archbishop, is very pro-Latin Mass, extremely pro-Latin Mass. So, or are they just concerned about like an overall church thing? Like me, as soon as I saw this, I thought about it for 15 minutes. Then I started laughing and I couldn't stop laughing. Francis is, well, frankly, not that bright. He got very few, 98% of Latin Masses are still a go in States, in Canada, in France, in England, in Germany, all the countries with trad movements. And he's shown his whole hand now, so this is going to be funny. All right. They don't live in the... Oh, okay. I'm talking about people who connect me online through my barely Protestant... Oh, okay, that makes sense, yeah. Not just the local people, because the Catholic bishop, archbishop in your area is pretty darn good. So, yeah, that makes sense. I think the Diocese of Little Rock, Arkansas, I think they're the ones who went from 5 Latin Masses down to 2. There was a fraternity and then the diocesan. Do you know anything about Latin Masses in Florida? No, I'm not from Florida. I'm not even from the United States. So, I mean, I'm not the guy to ask about that. Catholics in Florida. I don't know of any prominent Catholic YouTubers or social media people in Florida. I don't know. I'm sorry. I can't help you there. Are you in Florida? Are you in Florida, the other guy? I'm going to go to Florida and attend 10 Eastern liturgy next Sunday. Nice. Check it out. I believe there's an Eastern liturgy close where you live. I don't want to say where you live, but there's an Orthodox church that came out of schism there. I'm on Philly, but I'm going to move there next year. I'm pretty sure they have some solid churches in. I'm trying to think. I know anyone. I know that's where Scott Ricks, the SSPX is in full communion with God. Well, of course, you need to be in communion with God to be saved, but you also need to be in communion with your local bishop according to St. Ignatius, as I read. I don't know if you just joined lately, but if you go back in the stream, I read St. Ignatius. So, yeah. Archbishop Perez is from Florida and is a current bishop of Philly, and he's given blanket permission to continue. Yeah, most bishops are saying, oh, yeah, let's continue as usual. And I don't think there's a single diocese in the States where they I don't think there's a single diocese in the States where they've gone from Latin masses to no Latin masses. A couple have lost Latin masses, but they still have some. Okay, let's talk to. I did have an RCC woman I met yesterday who went to a holy matrimony liturgy I preside over. She hated the NO and loved the Anglican liturgy. She's one of the people I guess you could count to. Well, yeah, again, I've not ever been to an Anglican liturgy. There's an Anglican church not too far from me. Like for me, I'm in the old part of town. Like there's tons of churches. I have tons of Catholic and non-Catholic churches. Like within walking distance, I have 2 Eastern Orthodox churches, both on each side of the current schism that they have with Moscow and Constantinople. Me, I can walk to 2 Oriental churches, 2 Oriental Orthodox. Yeah, that's true. That's true. You did have a bishop that banned it. However, he didn't have any Latin masses, right? He's just like, it's not here, and we're not going to have it again. I know some FSSP peerages near me, and he didn't go after them. So in fact, I've not heard of any fraternity parishes getting stomped by this. I know there's that whole thing in France, but that's completely separate. That's not the same thing. And so, yeah, I don't think fraternity or Institute of Christ the King has been touched at all by Traditionis Custodes. But I think a couple diocesan were, especially in dioceses. I think of Little Rock, Arkansas. I go to a normal Italian parish that has a Latin mass done by a Capuchin friar. Nice, nice. He didn't even have Latin masses there, Cret. It was a preventative measure. He sounds like a piece of work, that guy. I'm not going to say who he is or what country you're from, but he sounds like not a good guy. I'm just going to say it like that. Like, who does that? Just don't say anything. It's not here, and I'm going to make sure it never comes here. Alan Rule, thoughts on who the next pope might be? That's actually a really good question, actually. I'm going to try to put something up on the screen there. That's a great question, by the way. In fact, I thought about doing a live stream on this. Okay, let me just share screen. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. So according to National Catholic Register's Edward Penton, these people are the Papa Beely. That means they're the favorites for the next conclave. And I'm going to just quickly go through them, and I'm going to tell you my assessment. Now, I don't think there are many cardinals out there worse than Pope Francis. There's one or two, but that's mainly non-existent. Mango, what's up, brother? Nice seeing you. Pope James Martin. Yeah, I think I'd Pope James Martin. That's a scary thought. Okay, I'm going to take a look at these people. Now, there's a lot of cardinals out there who are as bad as Francis. There's also a good chunk who are only slightly better than Francis. I like people like Cardinal Turkson, right? Who's on that list, actually. And then you have ones that are okay. Then you got ones that are good. So, all right, I'm going to put the full screen up. Number 1, Angelo Bagnasco. I don't know who he is. He's 78 because this came out in 2020. He's 78, so he might not be. Cardinal Burke, that would be good, age 73. Dominic Duca, he's Eastern European, so he's got my trust. He's Czech. Willem Ike, he's good. I like him. He's good. That's a solid pick. Peter Erdo, he's Hungarian. Again, Catholic bishops from Eastern Europe are pretty darn based. Cardinal Ludwig Mueller, he's good, but I don't think he'll get elected because the church in Germany, mind you, he's not a bishop in Germany. He's part of the Curia now. But the way the church is going in Germany, I don't think a German will get elected. Sean Patrick O'Malley, bad. William Napier, he's age 80 now, so he's too old because this was made last year. Mark Woulette, he's okay. He's Canadian. He's okay. Pietro Parolin, he's as bad as Francis. He's Francis's Secretary of State, which is the second highest position in the Vatican after the Pope. Mauro Piacenza, I don't know anything about that guy. Malcolm Ranjit from Sri Lanka. This guy is good. He might even be the best on this list. He's super pro Latin Mass. Very good. Gianfranco Ravasi, bad news. Bad news. You don't want him. Cardinal Sarah, need I say anything more? He's who we want to win. Christoph Schonborn, slightly better than Francis. Problematic. I'd pick him over Francis, but he has issues. Scola is actually really good. The only problem is he turns 80, I believe, in November. So, I mean, unless Francis dies before the end of the summer, I don't think we'll see that. Cardinal Tagle, he's as bad as Francis. Cardinal Turkson, slightly better than Francis. Matteo Zuppi, bad. He's as bad as Francis. In fact, Zuppi, I'm not 100% sure. I think he wrote the foreword to the Italian translation of Father James Martin's book. So he's here. Hold on. Let's check on this stuff. I'm pretty sure he wrote the yes. In 2018, he contributed an essay to the Italian translation of James Martin's Building a Bridge in Ponte Costruire. He wrote that it was useful for encouraging dialogue, as well as the reciprocal knowledge and understanding in view of a new pastoral attitude that we must seek together with our LGBT brothers and sisters, close quote. See, that's the kind of guy Cardinal Zuppi is. If you're a James Martin fanboy, he's bad. Zupi is bad. But I'm just gonna, so that's who the current Cardinals are. There's some good ones there, and there's some okay ones, but then you got a large chunk of bad ones too. I wonder which future pope would be better in terms of ecumenical dialogue. Well, first of all, they need to realize what ecumenical dialogue is. Vatican II, actually, in Unitatis Redentagratio, says we should try to convert our separated brethren. It's not like what Cardinal Casper's like, oh, that was abandoned at Vatican II. No, it says it in there. Just Casper is a disgusting racist heretic. Yes, he is racist for what he said about African people. But it's still there. Now, it does say, instead of emphasizing where you disagree, emphasize what you have in common. So it's a new approach. But overall, it's preaching the gospel. Okay. What are you laughing at, Daniel? I'm curious. Must be good. Burke would be awesome. I'm surprised he's so high up. I wonder what Pope will heal the schism. Well, there's a lot of schisms out there. There's not only one schism. So which schism, I should be the next Pope. I'll fix things up. Pope James the First. What do you say? What did he say about the Africans? Do you mean the Africans because they're well, essentially, he does not like the fact that the African church is so conservative. So he's like, oh, Africans need to become liberal or get with the time. Guys, I've gone way over. I got to kill the stream. I got to answer this from Mango. This is off topic, but do you know that presupposition originated from Catholics and not their reformers? One is Saint Irenaeus, and he used transcendental reasoning to argue for Catholicism. Heck, I can go further with you. Jesus Christ used presuppositionalism. So, forget about, I believe Mark chapter 9. Go read Mark chapter 9. I think that's the correct verse. Oh, okay. Peace out, Alan. Thanks for the Q&A. I'm almost done here. So, about James White. What did Barely Protestant say about? Oh, yeah. It might be from Dr. White, but keep in mind, I got a good list of enemies. It's not only Dr. White, although he is certainly on there. But I think he would rather slander me on his podcast. So, so check that out, Mango. I think it's Mark chapter 9. But yeah, no, it's all over the scripture. In fact, hold on, I'm going to find that for you right now. Okay. And the parable of the Good Samaritan has presuppositionalism built into it. I believe that's Luke chapter 10. But yeah, no, it comes straight from the New Testament, and it comes in 1 Peter 3. 1 Peter 3, sanctify God in your heart, then prepare to give a response. What you should do is go after him on your YouTube channel, and then make sure he sees it. Of course, you can't get me to share it with him because he's blocked me. Possibly John Fisher 2.0. You're welcome, Mango. All right. So the moral of the story is, if you attend an SSPX chapel, get inside the church and we'll defeat the modernism together. We got it. Pray the rosary, Latin Mass, read the Bible, read Imitation of Christ, which is almost as good as the Bible. It's so darn good. And, I got a question for you, Father James. How popular is Aelred of Revo in terms of Anglicanisms? I may have asked you this in our group chat, but I don't think I did. Because I am addicted to Aelred of Revo's writings. I will write the name here, just to a weird name. He's a 12th century English monk. He's of Saxon background. You can tell by the name Aelred. But no, is my favorite medieval author. Favorite medieval author. Father James. Father James. Anyway, so the point is, read as many books from this guy as you can. Hold on. I'm going to grab a book of his. I can't think of many who rave about him. I mean, I rave about him, but amongst Anglicans, I don't know many who reject him, though. Okay, well, he's not that well known, so that does make sense. He lived in the, I think he was born in the late 1000s, died in the 1100s. I don't know the exact year. You can search him up. But this guy, I've read like 6 or 7 of his books because they're translated by Cistercian publications. Amazing stuff. My favorite medieval author. All right. I think I'm done for the day, folks. So, feel free to comment below. My goal was not to attack people who go to SSPX. I just wanted to share my opinion as politely as possible. I didn't try to offend. I'm not like, that's a good book, by the way. I've read that one. That's a good book. Yeah, I don't see you guys as enemies, people who attend SSPX. I just think you're fighting the right battle with the wrong tactics. So that's what I want to say there. And everyone else, have a good day and God bless.